Hello and welcome to that Eurovision podcast, Eurovision with a slice of life. My name is Rory and I'm not doing too bad today. I'm a little bit tired, but that's just how it is these days. It's Sunday evening. I've been left on a Sunday and I still remember that day in September, which it is in September as well. Honestly, Esther Peony, Heyo. And yeah, joining me.
Jazzy. I'm really excited to get into today's topic. It's been quite a warm, muggy-ish day here, but again, not opening windows because wasp fear exists.
Disgusting.
Wasps do be the worst. And hi, it's Rosie. I am very excited for today's episode because it's a kind of an underrated one for me. And I think I'm going to be here to give some backing to a lot of songs and a lot of elements of this year that I think are somewhat underappreciated by a lot of people in this fandom. So I'm very excited to spread some love, share the love about things that might not necessarily get as much love as I think they should.
Tim here. Very uneventful. It's actually raining right now, but it's reflecting it on the sunset and it looks like picturesque. So when you have Twitter, you're just like, oh, look, very picturesque. But other than that, I'm very excited about today's episode because this is the one that you have voted for. So we had nothing to do with this topic. So first of all, I want to say thank you for your votes. It was a very close. It was like 1% off. So we thought it was going to be another country, but then this country just surged in at the last minute. So we were like, how?
Country?
But isn't this a year retrospective?
I meant a year.
Getting carried away, you are.
Yeah, getting carried away. But yeah, this is such a good year. And I think it's the one where it's spread out evenly, favorite and votes wise. So I'm going to let Rory take it away.
Interesting you say that because I have some very controversial opinions about this year that I am not going to hold back on. But yes, as Tim had said, you guys have been voting in your droves. I've learned from the last time in your droves from on Twitter and on Facebook and all these social media and whatever. And you have voted for us to talk about the year 2011. 2011 is kind of a special year for me because it was the first ever Eurovision that I went to as a child. So a little 12-year-old Rory going off to his first little sort of Eurovision initiation, I guess you could say. It was a really lovely time that I had a great time there. It was held in Düsseldorf in Germany after Lena had won in Oslo in 2010. We had 43 countries taking part. We also had the return of Italy. We also had the return of San Marino as well. And I believe Hungary as well. I might have forgotten someone else as well.
I think Austria as well.
And Austria, yes, Austria. Austria had not taken part since 2007 as well. And yeah, after two fantastically put on shows and everything, we had a winner, and that was Azerbaijan with Ella Nicky and Running Scared. And yeah, it was definitely like a really wide open year, I think, to say the least, just sort of going into this. What are some of your initial impressions of 2011 as a year?
I feel like my initial impressions are that it's quite a fun year. There's a lot of fun, happy, upbeat songs in the contest, especially in the first half. I feel like the hosts also do a really good job of keeping the show engaging and fun, especially Stefan and Anka. I think their hosting chemistry was really good. I just enjoyed the show, and some say the stage was too big, but I thought it really worked. I know only Denmark really made use of the smaller stage. Can't remember if any other countries did, but it really worked for their entry because it was a big rock entry. And I don't know if that song would have worked on stage in any other year without that smaller platform. Like the song would have worked as a song, but I don't think it would have worked as a staging. And I just wish that smaller platform was made more use of because it deserved to be like it was there for a reason. It was there to be used. Thinking maybe Eldrin could have used it, possibly Eric. Yeah, that's kind of the one thing that I'm a little bit down on in terms of how countries stage their entries, but this felt really expensive. It felt really well organized. I love that they sacrificed a whole football stadium to host the contest. I couldn't imagine that ever happening in the UK. I really couldn't. I would, obviously, as a football fan myself, I would love to see that happen, but I don't ever see it happening, which is really sad. But yeah, I feel like it's a really well organized show. It's staged well. It allows so many fans to come together and watch Eurovision because of the big venue. And it didn't feel too big, like, because a lot of the songs were like high energy, high tempo. So it kind of worked for the stage. I have a lot of positive thoughts in 2011. One of my negatives is actually how the delegations use the stage. It's not an issue with Germany themselves.
I feel like 2011 is one of those years that often gets called one of the weaker years of certainly the 2010s by a lot of people in the fandom. And I feel like, certainly going back and rewatching it, that more comes from disappointment in the winner, and that's been the most enduring thing about it. Whereas actually going back and listening to the songs, I really, really enjoyed rewatching this year. I sat and rewatched it this morning. I had Lewis with me. It was an absolutely wonderful time. The song quality was great. There might not have been so many standouts, but every single song in the final was perfectly pleasant. A strong number of them were good. And there were some really, really great songs in there. Songs that I am still listening to, songs that I still enjoy. I think Germany did a fantastic job of hosting. I thought the postcards, again, possibly a slightly underrated element of the production. I think they're lovely, and I really like the diversity of things that are demonstrated in them. I'm one of those people that generally prefers a sort of artist-focused postcard, but I thought that sort of focus on bringing people together across cultures, I thought was absolutely lovely. And I just had a great time watching it. And yeah, like I say, the songs are good. Not every song is good, but most of those ended up getting lost in the semis. And the final overall was generally really, really strong for me. I think one thing that I do find quite amusing going back and watching it 10 years later is sort of how many sort of climate change, the world is a disaster sort of songs we get. I mean, we get Da Da Dum, we get New Tomorrow, Secret is Love, Change. Yeah, there's a few songs with that theme, and you can see where it all comes from in Junior Eurovision, certainly.
Okay, for me, like, I already agree with the girls. You know how Germany is known for their efficiency. I think that just explains 2011 as it is, just because the show was on point. There was no faffing about. They were just like, okay, intro, Stefan, Anke, Lena, then songs straight away. After songs, votes, interval, they just get on with it. No questions asked. And it was within a time frame, which I really enjoyed as a participant. Another thing I really liked about this one was obviously the fact that it was a football stadium. So there were about 30,000 plus people in the audience, including Rory. I don't know which of the shows he went to. But yeah, I haven't experienced that in my lifetime. So to whoever wins next time, please do consider that, because that looked fun on screen. And also the fact the stage was just versatile. There was a lot of cables, a lot of lights. A lot of the artists make most of the big stage. Despite it being very big, it worked even with the long shots. So that's what I really liked about it. I think it was Florian Wader that designed this. So someone correct me if I'm wrong. But all I'll say is it looked very nice. It was very time efficient, and we expected what we expected from Germany. There was budget throughout this. So that's all I'll say about that.
My experience of this, it was a very last minute decision to go, basically. So me and my mum, we were just going to go for the jury final, and the tickets cost us roughly about like €70, which for a stadium like the S3 Arena is actually really quite efficient. However, we then got an email saying, oh, well, if you bought tickets, we still have some extra tickets going for the semi-finals. So I went to the second semi-final for only €5, which was amazing. They weren't the best seats, they were up on the tops, but I was looking directly at the stage. I got like best views of everything. It was phenomenal, honestly. I will say, as fantastic as it was actually being in a football stadium for it, This was during the time when Eurovision was going bombastic. So, it kind of started off maybe from like 2006 to 2007 and ended up until about 2012 and 2013 when they actually decided to downsize to smaller arenas. Because while it was great to have it in such a big place, you could see in a lot of the stage performances, maybe not so in the final, but definitely within the semifinals, that a lot of the seats were empty. So they weren't actually able to fill a lot of the seats, and therefore it was kind of costing them money. So it definitely was a better idea to actually sort of downsize it later on. But the staging itself was phenomenal. The actual stage, it actually isn't as big as it looked on the TV. In the jury final, I was on the floor right next to the catwalk. And actually, the catwalk did get a lot more use in the semifinals, but a lot of the songs that were in the semifinal that used them didn't qualify. So Cyprus in particular, Croatia used them. Estonia did use them a bit and then went on into there. Overall, though, 2011 for me, while at the time was great, since then it has sort of like fallen down the radar. I wouldn't even call it necessarily just because of the winner or so, because I think even Azerbaijan had no idea that they were going to win. And I think everyone was very evenly matched. I think, though, that a lot of the songs in here, it was sort of, again, a change in gear from the bombastic stuff that we had seen maybe in 2008, 2009, 2010. And it was sort of starting to shift away from that into more so of like the song element before the authenticity thing kind of came into it. I will say some of the staging was phenomenal. The hosting was amazing. Anka Engelke, loved her. Got to say Danke Anka to her. And honestly, she was like, thanks. Stefan Raab, fantastic. Also going to give a shout out to the third host, Judith Rakers, amazing sort of epitome, I guess you could say, of German efficiency because she's a newsreader. And yeah, the opening of Satellite, like the rockabilly version of it, was phenomenal. The fact that they even got to draw on their own past when they opened up the wall for the voting in the green room in the final was fantastic. It's like, tear down this wall. It was German comedy. And a lot of people said the Germans are not funny. They are funny. You just have to work for it. And it was very subtle, but in a really good way. And I really, really enjoyed it. But yeah, so yeah, let's just get straight into it. Like, what are some of your favorite songs from sort of 2011?
So my top three are, in third place, it is Georgia with Eldrine and One More Day. I just think it's an absolutely fantastic rock number. It's everything I've come to know and love from Georgia. And it was really nice to see this get some appreciation because I think Georgia's entries are usually very underrated. In second place is Serbia with Nina and Charoban. I love the whole 60s vibe. I think it's such a lovely, happy, upbeat song. It's staged fantastically. I think they really lean into the whole aesthetic and it sounds incredible live. And my winner of 2011 is actually our returning champion. It's Lena with Taken by a Stranger. I just think this is sexy, it's interesting, it's mysterious. The staging is weird, but I'm kind of here for it. She sounds amazing. The song itself doesn't seem like it's hard to sing, but I've tried to sing it and it's really hard to sound good doing it. And I just think it's so atmospheric and I really would have liked to have seen her do the double in 2011. Other songs I want to give shout outs to, possibly about half the year, to be quite honest. Just going through the final running order. Paradise Oscar with Da Da Dum, Dino Merlin with Love and Rewind, Lipstick, absolutely classic Jedward number, Italy with Madness of Love with Raphael Gulazzi. I just think that is so classy, it's so stylish, and what an incredible way for Italy to return to the contest. Couple of underrated favorites, In Love for a While by Anna Rossinelli. It's so charming and absolutely should not have come last. So Lucky by Zdobzy Dub. Sorry for butchering that pronunciation. It's utterly ridiculous and full of fun and full of joy. And that section where it sort of drops down a little bit and they have the quiet and then suddenly all the trumpets come up and it just I love that moment. Everything about that makes me happy. And also, I am going to give some love to Coming Home by Johnny's Friends. The song itself is very pleasant to listen to. It's the sort of style of music that I really like. But with the backstory behind it, I wouldn't say I've cried every time I've heard it or watched it, but I certainly did today. And I just think everything about this is such an amazing tribute to Johnny Brink. And it's so lovely seeing everyone get together on stage and perform this song in his memory. I've possibly not done this bit particularly well. The other very, very underrated song, if you've listened to the Belgium episode, you'll know what I'm going to say right now. Witloof Bay with Love Baby. I just like it, okay? I just think it's fun, and I really admire anyone who goes out and does something a bit different on that stage.
Before I say mine, all I'm gonna say is I can't wait for tomorrow to say the things I want to say. Your smile will always lead my way. That's enough of me butchering a good song with a good memory.
Aw, it was so lovely.
Okay, all right. My top three, but one of them actually didn't qualify. So my third place is Bulgaria with Polygenova with Na Inat. Just shout out because she sang in Bulgarian, which we rarely get nowadays. So she stuck with that. She took on Dusseldorf and she was like 6 points away from qualifying, which was very, very, very frustrating. It made me cry a little bit. Second place, I know I'm going to get a lot of disagreement to this and being called a nationalist, of course. UK. I understood there's a lot of discrepancy here with the jury vote, and I can see that now why this crashed on the jury vote. It was a great performance. I actually got behind Blue, and the BBC did manage to amass a big ratings on this one. So props to them for like bringing out the big guns, coming up top 5 on the televote. I mean, Sending a Name worked. They just had to be really current or within that time frame. And my number one, I'm gonna get a lot of disagreements with this. I really think Italy should have won in 2011. Like, that was a good entry. Them coming back after such a long time and they're sending something true to them. It sticks with the theme that like sticking to your culture. Made me feel nostalgic, made me feel like I was in Rome, Milan, that kind of thing. But yeah, I'm going to do the same thing as Rosie. I'm going to give shout out 3 entries. Austria, Nadine Baillet with The Secret of Love. Oh my God. Her voice and the harmonizations with the backing vocalists towards the end of this song. I still don't understand how this came, 18th? Like, I really don't get it. Especially when looking at the breakdown, this was like, top 5 in the jury? Like, this is one of the things that's going to mind boggle me, I think, which we're going to get on later on. It's just because there's a lot of discrepancies with some of these entries where they rank really high and low, and this was consistent throughout the 3 shows. The second one is Armenia, because I like Emmy, I just didn't like the song. I mean, who'd want to go on the stage and say, boom, boom, chaka, chaka?
Lena, apparently, because she was in love with that song when it came out.
I preferred Io. If you know what I'm talking about, or if you don't, search Emmy Io, and then you'll know what I mean. And then another thing on the shout out is Estonia, because even 10 years later, or I think it's 2020, it became a TikTok trend. Oh my God. And finally, on the underratedness of things, third place, Slovenia, because my coach is awesome. Second, this is a personal one for me, Donna International. She got pipped, but she wasn't even close. I understood why she didn't qualify, but still, it would have been nice to see in the final. And the final one is Slovakia, because twins were so lovely. Their harmonizations between I'm Still Alive was amazing. They qualified by the jury, but the televote let them down. So I can see why they changed the voting in 2016 now. And I don't know what would have happened if they had that voting system in 2011. How chaotic would that be?
There's just one thing I want to mention before I get on to my top three, because it's something I just want to lead off with, and that's about the UK. I feel like around that time there was a show the BBC did that came out which basically highlighted Blue's attempt as a failure. Coming 11th is not a failure, I'm sorry, especially with the results that we have had in the last decade. Looking back now, 11th was such a good result for us, and we should have been happy with that. You don't have to take part in Eurovision to win. Just send an artist, either an artist that's trying to reform their career or a new artist, and give them the platform to be able to do that. And I feel like that was done pretty successfully with Blue. So I view this as a success for the UK, and I just need to say my piece on that. I'm so sorry. I do have my top three, by the way. So my top three for 2011 is, my number 3 is Greece, Lukas Gorkias from Stereo Mike with Watch My Dance. I just think it's such a different song. It's so different to anything else in the final, and it really stands out, and it's staged beautifully. I think Lucas's vocals are gorgeous. I actually think the rap complements the darkness, edgy side of the song really, really well. I know it's a bit of a debate in the fandom. Some people love this song, some people hate it. I really like it. It's my third place. I think it's staged really well, and it probably deserved higher in my mind. I know it came 7th anyway, but I think it deserved a little bit better than that. My second place is Georgia, Eldrine, One More Day. If anybody who knows me knows I love this sort of music. The one thing that I really love in a rock entry is something that's female-led. I love the rawness of a female's vocals on a rock song. I love Cool Vibes by Vanilla Ninja in 2005. I would love to see this sort of entry back in Eurovision, and I just adore it. I love the pacing of it. I feel like it's quite rocky, but it's quite sassy. The way she says turn around during the final performance, I love that. I feel like she brings confidence to the stage, which I really love. I don't think it deserved to win Barbara Dex either. I think that the clothing they were wearing really, really suited the song, and I love it. My number 1 is Eric Sade's Popular, which might come as a bit of a surprise to some people on this podcast, because I have been known for not being the most complimentary of Sweden in the past. But I love the staging. I love the way he breaks the glass. I think he's vocally on point. There's so much I love about this. Helps that he is aesthetically pleasing as well. But that's not the only reason it's my first place. I feel like this is a song that, even if I was a major Eurovision fan, I would go back and listen to when I was younger. So it's just a song that I've always loved. And in my mind, it did deserve to win in 2011, but I completely understand why there were 2 songs that did better than it, especially Italy. I'm sure the other one we will get on to later, which actually is a song I want to give a shout out to, which is Azerbaijan, Running Scared. I think this gets too much hate. Now, I don't think it should have won the contest, but I don't think it should get the level of hate that it does. And I think if it didn't win the contest, it wouldn't. Because I actually think it's quite a decent song, especially in the studio. I get that the live is not the best vocally, and no, it shouldn't have won the contest. But when I listen to the studio cut of this, I really enjoy this song. And it's something, oh, it's nice. I enjoy this. But yeah, it's just something I wanted to give a shout out to. Other entries I want to give a shout out to are, now this would have been in my top 3 if I didn't have a problem with the backing vocals, and that's Jedward. They stage it well, they perform it well, they sound fine. Their backing vocalists sound off, and to me, it puts me off the performance. And I feel bad for saying that. This wasn't as much of an issue in 2012. They seem to have tweaked this when they came back the following year. I personally also think The Waterline's a better song, but they fixed the issues in their 2012 performance that were in their 2011 performance, which is something you have to admire. Of the songs I want to give a shout out to, Rockefeller Street, absolute bop, did not deserve to come as low as it did. Love it. The underrated songs I can think of, I have one that I think is really, really underrated, and that is Cyprus, Christos Moyalada San Agalos Agapisa. I think it's staged well. I think the song, I hear this song a lot on ESC radio, and it's so beautiful. It has such a great atmosphere. The vocals really work with the song. I love it. It came 18th in its semi-final, and that is so not deserved. Like, it deserved to be in the final in my mind, but it at least deserved to be closer to the final than it was, especially in 2011, where I think there were some songs that were left in the semis that were not great. But yeah, that would be my underrated pick.
I don't know. I mean, okay, here's the thing. I'm a little bit in the same boat as Rosie, where I would love to have just like 15 songs in my top three, but unfortunately that cannot happen. So I will do all of my honorable mentions like afterwards. But my third place is one that has not been mentioned yet. It's Ukraine, Mika Newton with Angel. Now, the reason why I love this is because it was 100% live. People didn't think, okay, let me show you a little comparison here. The sound artist who was in Ukraine 2011 was the same in Moldova 2019. However, the difference is in Ukraine 2011, she was doing it live, and in Moldova 2019, she wasn't. So it's interesting to show that she can actually do it live. And the song itself is really atmospheric. It's really chill. I love it. It's great. I know the whole scandal that was going on in Ukraine's national selection that year is just very messy. And yes, Mika Newton did invent sand. Okay, let's just be honest here. If you know, you know. My second place is Italy. I fully believe Italy 2011 gets far too much hate for its own good, and I don't understand why. People were saying, even just before coming on to record today, I was seeing tweets saying, oh, I like this from a musical perspective, but it should never have come as high. But when you factor in the fact that this was literally Italy's first entry into the contest for 14 years, and the fact that they weren't trying to conform to anything in particular, they were just being unapologetically Italian and classy, you just knew that it was going to do really well. And I'm so happy that it actually did manage to come in second place, because it meant that Italy started off on a really good note. And given the fact that Fiume di Parole, I think it came seventh in 97 or something, like it definitely came top 10. So it just goes to show that like they were able to actually carry on that good streak of results, even if they've been gone for over a decade. And my number one, it should come as no surprise, is Germany, Taken by a Stranger. The reason I went to Germany for Eurovision in the first place was because of Lena. I was obsessed with her. As soon as she won the contest, I was like, I listened to my cassette player so much, her debut album. It was so good. And when I knew she was coming back again for 2011, I was like, Mom, I love you, but we need to go. There's no way in hell I'm not going, okay? Not a chance. And then when I got to see her live, with the staging was phenomenal. Okay, I hadn't necessarily grasped the whole concept of a 3-minute rule at that point. So I was fully used to the studio album version. And then when they cut the final verse out, I was like literally in the jury final, I was just like, we've just left out an entire section of the song, but okay. But no, the song itself was fantastic. She looked phenomenal. I think she was by far and away the best dressed contestant of that entire year. And it just oozes like mystery, enigmas, and everything like that. And to see the glow up from, quirky, cute girl next door in 2010 to that, and seeing where she is now in her career, it just is fantastic to see. And it's great to show the actual career progression, really. Other honorable shout outs and underrated and everything like that, I have to give shout outs to Bosnia and Herzegovina, Dina Merlin, Love and Rewind. I thought that was really underrated. I'm going to run through them down basically from semi-finals. So Magdalena Tool, I did like it. It was quite nice. It's just a shame that in the first 4 songs of 2011 in the semi-finals, they were all suffering from technical issues that were going on. Same goes for Hava Hava. If you're a fan of this podcast, you have probably already found the YouTube video of 12-year-old Rory singing Hava Hava in a school talent show. So, there's history there. Love Switzerland as well. In Love for a While, it was really twee, but it was so nice. It was so fun. Again, Iceland, Hungary as well, which has been one that we've kind of overlooked. Fantastic song. Like I said, Bosnia and Herzegovina. Who else? Moldova's Dobshi's Dub. Fantastic to see them come back after 2005. Macedonia, Vlatko Ilievski, Rusinka. completely underrated. R.I.P. Also, by the way, he gave a fantastic performance. I can see why it was a little bit messy, but it was such a good song. Belarus as well is a little bit of a guilty pleasure, just because I love Belarus, got it deep inside. I love Belarus, feel it in my mind, and I want to see the sun shining from above. What is it? I'm searching high with my legs in their full view. Fields are full of gold, and it's all my land. What can I say? And then also just really, really love Estonia. Who else do I really, really like? Serbia as well, Georgia. A lot of them could have easily been in my like third place, but I had to pick one, so I was just gonna go with Ukraine because you know me, I'm a Ukraine stan. But yeah, so kind of looking at 2011 from like a technical perspective, this was the first year that in pretty much since the Big Five was kind of introduced, that we had a Big Five country actually hosting. And now that we're getting that next year in Italy, are you sort of going to be comparing 2011 to 2022 in terms of quality? And also, just as a little thing as well, this was also the last year that we had only 25 competing countries in the final. So what's going to happen now in 2022?
Personally, I won't be comparing the two just because I think Italy just does what Italy wants to do and they're not going to listen to anybody else. So, no, personally, I won't be comparing the two. But as for the 25 songs, I just think they'll keep it at 25. I know there's been talks of having, could we invite Kazakhstan or Kosovo to the contest? I don't personally see that happening because I feel like there would be uproar because there have been countries that have joined the contest in the past that have not got direct passes to the final. I know this happened for Australia, but Australia were meant to be at that point a one-off. Obviously, they're here to stay now. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't know if you could compare the two just because Italy does what Italy wants, and I don't think anybody could change that. So it'd be hard to. I guess the only thing you could compare is not the production, but like how expensive the show is. You could maybe compare that, but in any other aspects, I don't think you could.
No, I will not be making comparisons because we know RAI is a capable broadcaster and we know how Sanremo is. But I might just want to look at the timeline because we know how they love to overrun in Sanremo. Let's just hope that they don't bring that along to the contest because I will scratch my eyes out if they do. But with regards to the 25 countries, I think we already know what they're going to do. They're going to increase the amount of intervals on there. However they use it, I don't care. I'm fine with that. Put something about Italy, maybe bring Italian Eurovision representatives back on stage. Who knows? But no, they're two different countries. And we know times have changed, especially since they last hosted it. So, I'd be more comparing about that, but I know that the times are different. But no comparison, definitely not. Not in this case anyways.
Yeah, very much on the same page as Tim and Jazzy on this one. And I think Tim raises a really good point that, yes, it's only been 10 years, but the contest has changed so much within that 10 years. And so I think it would almost be impossible for it to be a similar show. It would be like comparing 2001 with 2011 with 1991. They are just such completely different shows, completely different audiences, completely different styles of music, completely different countries competing and participating, that I just think comparing the two would not be worth it, really. What would you be gaining by comparing the two? And I think it is an interesting point to bring up that, yes, they are both Big Five countries, and yes, we're seeing a Big Five country host again, but we've only got one instance of that happening beforehand with the introduction of the Big Five. So maybe if we get a couple of hostings from Big Five countries, maybe then we'll start to see patterns. But at the moment, I don't think looking for patterns is a particularly useful thing to do. And I'm just really excited for RAI to put their own spin on the show.
Yeah, very much in the same kind of boat. I think it's two completely different scenarios that we are in now. It's still the era of bombastic Eurovision, big flashing lights and everything like that. 2022 is a lot more refined now. And I mean, Eurovision is constantly evolving anyway. So the fact that we are having this comparison. It would just be comparing apples and oranges, really. As for the 25 song ones, it seems a little strange. I'm not going to lie, just because we've gotten so accustomed now to having 26. And the only reason why we've got 26 is just because of Italy. So it's kind of a strange situation. I personally wouldn't mind some maybe other alternatives, perhaps. For example, if they were to invite Kazakhstan or something like that, or perhaps in whichever semifinal has more countries participating in it, have 11 qualifiers maybe, or something just as like a suitable alternative. Obviously, that puts other countries in the other semifinal maybe more at a disadvantage, but I'm just thinking in order to keep the tradition of 26 countries, I feel like it would be an odd situation.
Could have 11 in both because they had 27 in 2015.
Well, that's very true, but it does run the risk of overrunning to Vienna levels. So it depends on whether or not you would be willing to wait up until about at least 1 o'clock for a winner. I don't know, would you?
I mean, it's Eurovision, of course I would.
Of course, yeah. But yeah, I guess the main things to sort of take from 2011 would sort of be efficiency and subtle humor. And going forward, is there anything that Germany can build on from 2011? So maybe keeping Anka, Judith, and Stefan as hosts, or redesigning the stage, or even holding it in another city, because there were several bids from different cities trying to host the contest. And we had Düsseldorf with the football arena, we had Munich, I think, as well. I'm going to get the list up just to be on the safe side. So it was a 4-horse race between Düsseldorf, Hamburg, Hanover, and Berlin. Now, Hanover was doing an exhibition center, as was Hamburg. Düsseldorf had the football arena, and then Berlin were going to do a inflatable tent outside Tempelhof Airport. Now, obviously, this is still a working airport at the time. So basically, you'd be trying to fit about, 10,000 to 30,000 people in a giant marquee on a runway with planes taking off left, right, and center. I don't think it was going to be very feasible. But yeah, what do you think Germany can take going forward? Should we carry on with these sort of unorthodox plans or keep it straight and efficient?
I feel like Germany would just be efficient, maybe go into a smaller arena just because, as Rory stated, there were empty seats. So as much as I would like it in a football arena aesthetically, it may not work out financially because they have to pay so much for the football arena and then them not filling the seats. That may be a bit of an issue. So possibly downsizing to an arena. I feel with the hosting, you could obviously keep the hosts from 2011. They were amazing. They were funny and they kept the show going, and they've just like bum, 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 bum with how they hosted it. Like, you didn't see much of them, but they still had a presence, which is really good. Some hosts had too much presence in the past. I'm not going to call 2015 anyone out there. But yeah, I feel like they could take a lot of this from 2011 over. The only thing that I would maybe consider is downsizing the size of the venue. But they could take a lot from 2011 over to whenever they hosted next, which hopefully will be soon because they're on a bit of a downward streak at the moment.
For me, one of the things that came across very clearly when watching the contest was they were clearly really loving hosting. Not just the actual hosts, but the entire country, the audience, everyone who was there were just really loving being there and really enjoying having the contest in Germany. And that's not just something I'd say for Germany to keep. I think it's important to get across for any contest. Have fun with it because it is exciting being able to host such an incredible event. And I just had a huge smile on my face for pretty much the entire contest because that vibe was so clear.
For me, I agree. The efficiency was there. It was very nice that the show, there's a routine. That's the main thing. I always say this because we look forward to it. It builds up throughout the year, but the fact that you know where the points are, you know what's happening, and it's easy to get to it. There's no interruptions whatsoever. That's what I really liked. with the hosts one, as much as I love all three of them, I would like to make a swap or an addition. I'm going to let you guys decide on that. Barbara Schöneberger, the spokesperson since 2015. I love her charisma and I love her hosting capabilities. Correct me if I think she was one of the hosts when they selected their 2015 entry where they had that little controversy.
She said she was the one that was like, oh, this is a coitus interruptus in the most awkward fashion.
Yeah, I think if we had those sort of hiccups, she'd be able to pick it back up just like that. No issues. Whoever you want to swap out, I'll leave that up to you. But you know what? We know that Germany is efficient and they'll do whatever they can with whatever budget they can.
Yeah, I think for me, the main things that I would want to take, I would definitely want to have Barbara Schöneberger in there. For 2011, Stefan Raab was good, but we've moved past him now and he's retired and everything. So if we swapped Stefan for Barbara, I think that would be perfect. And I think Anka and Barbara together would be an unstoppable force, honestly. The main word that I think of when I think of 2011 as a year is subtlety. And going forward, I wouldn't mind a little bit more of like a cultural injection in there because we, as fantastic as it was to sort of see Eurovision as a multicultural event and transposing that onto the idea that Germany is a multicultural country, and that's why the postcards have featured immigrants from certain countries coming into Germany and showing them in different workplaces and stuff. I think it would be a really nice addition to have different German elements throughout the show because the interval acts were all right, Yandere. But yeah, if we had a little bit more of a German element in there, then I think that would be really, really nice. Traditional, this is because we know that Germany is incredibly modern and talented and whatever. And yeah, again, just sort of downsizing the same thing, but keeping the stage though, because I think the stage worked really, really well. Just maybe going a little bit more abstract in it. It's not that they've done anything wrong. I'm just asking for more, really. And overall, in terms of the song quality, let's just bump that up a little bit because 2011 to me was a bit of a weak year. I'm not going to lie about it. But yeah, so just to sort of wrap things up a little bit, if you had to sum up 2011 in 3 words, what would they be?
Save the planet.
That was great.
Fun and efficient.
Honestly, yeah, it would just be subtle humor, anchor. There you go. I had to come up with a third word, so it's fine. But yeah, so do we have any sort of final points on 2011 overall, just before we fully end things here?
I really want another 2011. I know you hate it as a week here, but I really want another one where you really don't know who's going to win. That kind of feeling because all the songs were so great.
I feel like 2021 was that.
I mean, kind of. It was very unpredictable in 2011 because everyone thought that it was going to be Sweden, Germany, and then I want to say Bosnia. France was up there.
France was up there. Apparently, they even like booked an arena already, thinking they were gonna win.
That's what's happened.
Don't quote me on that. I think I read that somewhere.
Didn't Lithuania do that in 2020 and then the pandemic happened?
Oops.
It was going to happen.
Countess was sitting right there.
and now there's no reason for it. But no, 2011 overall, production-wise, it was a phenomenal year. I just wish that we had the same unpredictability, but just with better songs. Fight me, honestly, fight me. But yeah, if that's everything, then yeah, that takes us to the end of this edition of that Eurovision podcast. I'd really like to thank Jazzy, Rosie, and Tim for strolling down the archives again to 2011. It's nice to go down memory lane. And hopefully, fingers crossed, I might be able to go maybe next year, fingers crossed. And then, well, I mean, we'll all be going once, hopefully, if we all get our press passes. But it's going to be great once we actually find out which city we're going to, because the saga still continues. In the meantime, please do continue to follow us on all of our social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at That Euro Site. We're also on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts there. So please subscribe wherever. Do all the things that you need to do in order to keep in touch with us so you know where we get on and so we get podcast episodes up there. We might be trialing a new other few things as well. Give it time. And yeah, we're just going to keep carrying on with some of these. We've got some really interesting plans for podcast episodes as we sort of lead into Junior Eurovision and the start of the 2022 actual Eurovision season. So I'm excited. But yeah, so shall we all say goodbye?
Bye.
Bye. Or whatever goodbye is in German.
Bye.
Tschüss. Tschüss.
Tschüss.
Tschüss.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Goodbye.
Right. Let's
All right.
run.
So
3,
long. Farewell. Auf
Auf Wiedersehen.
Wiedersehen.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.